If you want the dividend income, but you don't want to pick individual stocks, then an ETF is the way to go. So here are 3 dividend ETFs that I actually like. One of them is my absolute favorite. I'm sure you can guess what that one is. Now, dividend ETFs are popular because people want the income, but they don't want the hassle of actually choosing companies. I actually like choosing my own companies to put in my dividend stock portfolio. But some people just like the ease of an ETF. The only real difference between a dividend ETF and a normal ETF is basically that it gives you dividend income. It should still have growth, and very often growth ETFs also give you income. So mostly I just think of a dividend ETF as one that offers high yield dividends. You do still get franking credits through the dividend if the company within that fund pays a franking credit, because the fund will pass that on to the investor, but it does depend on what companies are in the fund and whether they offer a franking credit. So my number 1 dividend ETF in Australia is not going to be a surprise. Everybody loves this. It is the number 1 for a reason. It's VHY, Vanguard's high yield ETF. Vanguard screens for high yield companies to put in the fund, but it still mostly prioritizes liquidity and size of the company. Its distribution yield is one of the highest, over 8%, and over 5 years it's increased over 33%. It pays quarterly, which is pretty normal for an ETF. It has 88% franking credits, and the management fee is on the low side at 0.25%. Now, this fund is best for most investors. It's the most popular for a reason. It's stable, it's consistent, and it is my number 1 favorite. This really is the core income ETF for most Australians. Now, the second one I like is IHD, the iShares Dividend Opportunities ETF. Now, I know SYI is more popular than IHD, but I prefer IHD. The dividends are just more stable and it has stronger long-term growth. So the dividend yield is over 4%. The price, it's over 20% price growth over the last 5 years. It pays quarterly, as most of them do. It has 85% franking and a low 0.23% management fee. But I like this fund because it has more stable dividend income and it just has a better long-term growth profile. So IHD is best for investors who want that income growth balance. There is less yield chasing here, but it is a stable fund. Now, my third choice, I went back and forth quite a lot because I didn't want a fund that was just the same as VHY. I wanted something a little different, but still produced a good income. So I've gone with MOAT, which is VanEck's Morningstar Wide Oat ETF. It has a distribution yield of 5.8%. It's had really strong price growth of over 60% over the last 5 years. It does pay annually though, only once a year. So that could be a problem for a lot of investors who like to get that regular income. And because it holds US companies, there is no franking. The management fee is 0.49%, which is not bad, but it's getting a little high. But this is a dividend ETF that offers income outside of Australian companies. So it's a good one to have as maybe a second or third ETF. It probably wouldn't be your first choice if you have no other ETFs, but it's one that you might choose to have some diversification within your portfolio. It does only pay once a year though. It's going to be a really good fun payday that day. But yeah, that might be an issue for some people. So MOAT is for people who want some US exposure. They want the diversification and they don't mind waiting for that annual dividend payout. I'm going to add a bonus ETF in here because I am not ready to recommend this company fully, but it's definitely one to keep watch of. And the reason for that is it's very new. We don't have a lot of data yet, and that's HYLD. It's BetaShares Australian High Income ETF. It's still too new. It only started in August. And while it does look promising and it pays dividends monthly, I'm going to have to see more longer term performance before I start recommending it. I wouldn't personally be buying it just yet. I need a little bit more time to see how it performs over the long term, but it's definitely one to keep your eye on. So a quick summary: VHY screens for high dividends. IHD focuses on sustainable dividends. So not just the highest yield, but the ones that are most consistent and sustainable. And MOAT selects companies with competitive advantages. And while dividends are a bonus and not the main goal, it still has a pretty good yield. But this is here because it focuses on companies outside of Australia if you want that diversification. So which is the best ETF? There is no one best ETF. It really just comes down to what suits your goals the most. You need to look at what's more important, income growth or diversification. Not every dividend payment that you get is going to be equal. Even though the ETFs do try and balance out the income payments, they do change every quarter. They're not always the same because the payments are based on the company earnings and what they've paid to the fund. But those are my 3 favorites and one bonus one. Next week, we're going to talk about starting to build your dividend portfolio, what you're going to put in it, setting regular scheduled buying days, and so on. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.